Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio. You know, every fourth Saturday we get to chat with Glynn Burrows over in England. He is the owner and tour guide of Norfolk Tours, and he's also a family historian. Anything to do with history of England, family history, he knows. And he also knows about going and seeking out unique places, local businesses, and being he customizes his packages for what people want to see and do when they go to England in his area of Norfolk and East Anglia or all of England. So he really shows you the local behind the scenes of what's going on in the beautiful country of England. But today he's joining us to talk about what difference one person can make, how being local and working with local independent businesses can benefit the environment and also benefit the community and the economics of a community. And it's something also as travelers that we should take a look at doing. How light can our footprint be when we travel somewhere? Is it better to go with the big box stores and the big box brand hotels, or really get that local experience where you're helping a small business who often has a lighter footprint? So welcome back, Glynn. How are you?
Hi, yeah, lovely over here. Thanks. Yeah, just had a lovely day with the family. So I'm now sitting here looking at the lovely evening sun in my garden.
Ooh, that sounds
nice.
Beautiful.
Hey,
it's always beautiful. Yeah.
I read that we're having a pink moon for the next 3 nights.
All right.
You get that over there? I'm like, there's only one moon, so.
Yeah, I think I have heard about it. Well, yeah. I am actually looking at a pink cherry blossom tree at the moment.
Oh.
Hey. Well, we're recording this from Seattle, Washington right now in a lovely garden that does remind us of England because they have snowdrops and they have tulips, and we do have a white cherry blossom tree right in front of us.
Very good.
That's blooming. We got tulips. It does kind of remind us of England and being in Washington State. And it's so interesting because there's so much English history in this area. I mean, England had, there's even an English camp out on Whidbey, Camano Islands. And so it's very cool to just, when the English came over here and the English army was over here, and even, going back to Sir Francis Drake, when he came over on his golden hind, sorry.
It's hindy.
Here we go.
There's gold in them hills.
That's coming for our next segment with Glynn about language, the English language between the two countries. But when they came over here, I swear they must have felt a little at home because there just has that English feeling because there is rain, but the sun comes in and out, and the flowers are there, and it just has that feeling, of green. England.
It's green.
Yeah, they must have felt at home. It's kind of like the Lake District, actually, in a way, out here.
Yeah. I mean, America is such a massive country that some parts of it must have been so reminiscent of England for them. Some of it must have been so foreign, like a different planet. I mean, when I see what some parts of America are like, I really feel sorry for the people who came from, the middle of Norfolk, beautiful green countryside, and then they end up in America that looks, some of it, like a complete desert,
It is like Arizona and Texas, parts of California. It's like, really?
Well, you've got to think too, when the Battle of New Orleans happened in Louisiana, and the British came in wanting to take over, New Orleans, and everyone in New Orleans says, heck no, that's not happening. And even the Native American tribes from Kentucky and Tennessee came down to fight this battle, and so did John Lafitte came in, and the pirate or privateer, as he likes to be called, and said, no, we're banding together. So you had all the muckety mucks and the pirates joined together to say no to the Brits. Sorry, Glynn. But they had to fight in swamps with alligators.
With gators.
So I find that talk about night and day difference. But you've been to Vancouver. So I think where we are now kind of looks a little bit Vancouver-y. So maybe
I did. I loved Vancouver.
It's pretty. It's really
but
pretty.
It was discovered by a man who was also born in Kings Lynn, so that's the main reason I loved Vancouver. When I say discovered, I don't mean discovered. I mean discovered by English people. Obviously, there were people who knew that Vancouver existed before it was called Vancouver, but George Vancouver was actually born in the same town as I was.
Oh, cool! That's awesome.
Yeah, see, there's always a connection, and I'm going to get us back on track because we've already got off track, right? But not really bad, because there's always a connection between our two countries. And one thing is, this country, our country, America, and we're British descendants, so we can say England too. We're looking more and more about our environmental footprint. What are we working with nature? And it does seem to tie in that, we can have big companies doing really good things. So I'm not anti-big companies and, corporate. I'm not we're business people. But we do need to look at quality things coming through. Like, are we working with environmental standards? Are we, really helping support small businesses? Because we've talked about this forever, Glynn, on the show, that, keeping local businesses kind of helps keep the integrity of a place that you're visiting as a traveler. If you don't have any mom and pop shops in the historic downtown,
it's boring,
who are you as a community? So you wrote this amazing article that will be in our Nature Connection magazine, and everyone follow Glynn at norfolk-tours.co.uk, and also on our site, blendradioandtv.com. And this started off as, it's Earth Day, April 22nd, and your show's airing April 23rd. So this is a double feature celebrating Mother Nature. But I love this article you wrote. And that's why we're saying, no, he's got to have a whole segment on this, because you really focused on local businesses. And it really does sound, you were talking about even, in regards to carpentry and, redoing a kitchen, the importance of working with someone local, because it does really have a big difference for what we do with Mother Nature. And as we look through climate change, that's something we all have to look at, no matter where we live.
When you actually said you were doing something on Earth Day and how we could look at the local business effect and things like that, I just sat down and wrote what sort of came into my head. And it is the fact that if you go to a local carpenter and you tell them what you want, they can actually build you exactly what you want to have, from locally grown wood and from a local wood yard, and they can actually build it in your kitchen for you. And opposed to that, you go to one of these massive stores and you pick up the units off the shelf. The units have probably been brought in from across the other side of the world. They're normally packed in plastic and plastic foam and in cardboard boxes, and they're basically made of reconstituted wood covered in plastic laminate. And actually, when we do that, when we go and pick up these kitchen units or these dining tables that are made of spit and cardboard, basically, I mean, do we actually think about what we are buying? Because all we're doing is adding to global warming. We're adding to the plastic in the planet. We're adding to the waste of the waste of wood, because cardboard is made from wood and is wasted. All right, it might be recycled, but 90% of it isn't. So you're just adding to all of that waste, and some of it never disappears. Plastic and this plastic foam stuff that they use to pack everything up with. That's not gonna disappear. No. And all the glue that is used to glue all these supposed wood products together, they're made of reconstituted sawdust, aren't they, basically?
Right.
So, that's all glued together with who knows what. So we're buying all this stuff and we don't actually realize what we're buying. Whereas if we went to the local carpenter, yes, that may cost us a bit more money. But what are we actually thinking about when we're talking about value and money and what it's actually costing us? You know, there's a great thing, you know, that I've seen somewhere around where it says, is it costing us the earth? And it is, you know, it's costing us the earth rather than costing us the earth in a lot of money. It's costing us the earth. And that is something that hasn't got a value, you know, because we haven't got another one. There is not another one on the shelf. You know,
I used to design kitchens when we lived in South Africa. And you are so right about this, because if you purchased a box kitchen, you got particle board put together with Elmer's glue. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's full of chemicals and it stinks. It really, really smells, and it smells in your kitchen for a long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go to your local carpenter, and sometimes you actually pay less, sometimes you pay a little bit more, but not huge amounts more.
No.
You have, when something goes wrong, you have someone to call and they come and they fix it. Yeah. Try doing that with a box store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try that. Exactly. It doesn't work. What they do is they say, oh, if you complain loud enough and long enough, they'll send you a completely new unit, which means you have to empty everything out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then repack it in. And about 2 months down the road, you have the same problem that you had with the first one.
Yeah.
So so in the end, it costs you more money to buy from a box store. Sorry, big box stores, but that's the truth.
the other thing that really is what it's more about for the local economy is that if you go to a big store and buy all these kitchen units off the shelf, about 90% of what you spend actually leaves your local economy. Because yes, they may well employ a few people on the shop floor, but all of the other money goes to the managers who are living who knows where, and their yachts and whatever, or the shareholders. Then you're paying loads of money to the people who shipped it over or flew it over or whatever. You're paying for all the packaging. You're paying whoever made it in the first place, probably somewhere in some country getting paid next to nothing.
Right.
But the main problem is that all of the money that you're spending is leaving your local economy, and a lot of it is also leaving the national economy. So not only are you not supporting your little area where you live in, you're not even supporting your own country.
Because I can tell you where it goes right to China. Thank you very much. That's our goal. Let's make China
because it's
stronger.
all processed.
It goes right to China and people who don't even have homes sometimes that are working for a bowl of food.
Yeah,
that's where it goes.
That's what I think is so bad. Is I don't know if you have this in England, but over here, so much of our workforce are being outsourced. We're not hiring our own people.
No, we're not.
I mean, that's what's going on. I mean, even telephone communication, customer support. And I'm not anti hiring people in other countries. I'm not anti that because people need jobs around the world. But I'm just saying, we have a lot of people in this country that need jobs and need homes, and we need to kind of look at the local market. And I love what you do with Buy Local Norfolk. Great organizations. We've done a couple shows with you on that too, and it's so good to see it. And when you think about these local organizations, I think a lot of chambers of commerce over here do it. But just going back to the kitchen cabinets and everything, when you travel as a traveler, like going to a bed and breakfast, and you step in and you talk to the innkeeper while they're cooking, which sometimes they really don't want you to. But when you go around, if you go and stay in the rooms, and the rooms are historic, or, you need that cabinet guy. You need the carpenter to help with those historic places.
Oh, exactly.
If you don't support him for your regular things, he's not going to be around because he doesn't have enough work to keep him going. So there's these buildings, and when you go into a business, that isn't cookie cutter. Like if you go to a historic downtown as a traveler and you go into a shop and it still has maybe part of the brick showing from what it used to be, that building used to be, or like maybe, it's a really old bank and they've kept the safe and maybe it's still modernized everything, but they keep that. It creates a conversation piece. It creates something that visitors want to go and see. It gives a sense of community. So I think, when we look at all these, this is where like people don't realize like a carpenter is part of tourism.
Yes.
And this is perfect timing to talk about it in this country. May 1st through May 7th is National Travel and Tourism Week. And it's really about that. How far does a tourism dollar stretch? It won't go very far if you're not, you'll get people coming in once, but not again, if they don't have something unique as an experience. And that means for the aesthetics. I mean, if you go to a restaurant and I eat the same McDonald's burger in England, why am I going to England? I want Lancashire hot pot. Or do I?
Bangers and mash. You want bangers and mash.
I want bangers and mash. By the way, that's a whole other thing for our conversation on English. They don't say bangers and mash here.
I mean, it is so important because not only does the carpenter, for instance, not only does he then keep his money locally because he lives here. So if I say, for instance, I want a new kitchen and I go to the bloke who lives up the road, he lives in my village, so he will build his kitchen. He will build my kitchen for me. So he's bought the wood from the local wood yard. So not only am I supporting him, but I'm also supporting the local wood yard. But I'm making sure that the money that I spend, as much as possible, is going to stay here. And as he lives here, he's also paying local taxes. He's also using other local businesses who are local as well. So therefore, more of the money stays here. And they do say that there's a well-known, whatever the word, I can't think what the word is, I'm getting old. But it's called LM3, and it is local multiplier 3, which goes to prove that every single pound or every single dollar that you use or spend with a local independent business is worth at least $3 or £3 to the local economy because it stays locally and it gets respent locally, and it just keeps going round and round. And that was the whole reason years ago in England, a lot of big factory owners used to pay their workforce in tokens. So instead of getting a dollar, a coin, he used to give his workforce a token, which was worth £1 or 10 pence or whatever you want to call it. And the only place that man could spend that token was in the shop that was also owned by the local factory owner.
Exactly.
So therefore, not only did he pay the men and children and women who worked for him in his own money, he made sure that they could only spend it in his own shop. So he made the profit twice because it kept going around. So they knew in them days, and I'm talking about the 1800s and the 1700s, they knew then that if you used tokens and you kept the money going around locally, it helped the local economy. Well, it helped the mill owners because they kept all the money. But the same principles, the same principles here.
It's interesting, but that is a form of slavery, and sharecropping is like that over here. After slavery, we had sharecropping, and majority were free slaves that it just was still in the same area. I mean, it's like you're a freed slave. Now what? We didn't, give you education. We, beat you. We made you work. We, here's your food. Shopping was not a thing. And now suddenly you're free, which is fantastic, and everybody needs their freedom. But now it's like, now what?
You have nothing.
How do you know what to do? So then sharecropping came in, which was like a subversion of slavery in so many ways. And that's a whole other argument. And I know we get emails and we get in trouble for this all the time on YouTube. Everyone go watch Elvin Shields' video on our Big Glenn Mag video, YouTube, and you'll see, he'll explain what it's like. But and there were white people too, so it wasn't just African Americans who went.
I'm talking about my own ancestors who were living on farms, and they basically had to buy everything from the local store, which was also owned by the people who employed them. So
exactly. It's exactly, but the local, to me, keeping the community character is a big deal, and that as a traveler, and for people in the community to have pride over their community, know where their roots are. That's how you breed community pride. And when you go to towns, as much as Nancy and I travel, you can go in the community, and the happy communities, people welcome you. They don't know who you are. They don't know if we're writing about the town or not. They'll say, hey, have you seen this over here? They just start chatting to you. They're happy. They're proud of where they're from. That, there's something really talking about being local. Our friend Jim Ostick, I think you know him from our Facebook groups, and you've been on a show with him.
Yes.
He he's walked across the country, cycled around the country. Yeah. He's walked the Pacific Crest Trail, and his latest book is called Walks Farman, and it's about the Pacific Crest Trail that goes from the Southern California border with Mexico to Canada, and he walked that. And he wrote his book not just about the trail, because so many people have done that, but he wrote it about the Native American culture. And he's doing a series with us, everyone, so you can see this all on nationalparktraveling.com. But the history of the Native American tribes, where you're walking, there is all this ancestral history. And we were talking about it the other day, and like how Native Americans here were just moved, and you're going to go to this school, we're going to cut your hair off, and we're going to move you from one place to the other. And how, we've done interviews with Native Americans where they got moved, and their corn will not grow in the next state because that corn comes from this state and it only grows there. And when you move, suddenly, these are people who lived off the land, hunters, gatherers. Yes. And so when they're moved, though they're number one being taken away from ancestral burial grounds, and it just goes on and on. But their way of life, they are so in touch with nature. We talk about eating local. They truly did. They lived on the land. So, when the snow came, they would move from the mountains down into the valley areas because it was, warmer. But the elk, and the deer, and the native wildlife do the same thing. So they lived and worked in nature and survived. But here comes, white man going, we're going to move you here. You're crazy savages. This is what they said. We're going to move you. But now, I was talking to him about this. I'm like, can you imagine suddenly your entire diet, when you're living so healthy, you're eating, look at honey. They all say, eat local honey. It's good for cold and flu. Now, suddenly, you're eating a whole other diet.
Well, you really don't know what you're eating.
No,
I mean,
you don't.
You really don't.
This is the second part of what I wrote about was food, and buying from a supermarket. Sometimes you really have got no idea what you're buying. Yeah, and you've got no idea where it came from. And the one thing that I've sort of come to realize, looking at family history, as well as thinking about buying local, my ancestors, all of my ancestors, as far as I've discovered, lived within 50 miles of where I live today. And that's on all sides. So my entire DNA makeup has lived, as far as I know, within 50 miles of where I live today. So I'm probably only the second generation who has regularly eaten things like bananas, oranges, fruit and stuff that have been imported. I'm probably the first generation that has ate garlic, a lot of garlic. I'm the first generation that has probably eaten not fruit and veg, meat most days. I'm the first generation that has eaten, a lot of processed food. So can we wonder at it that our metabolism and our bodies are complaining because my DNA is not made to eat bananas because none of my ancestors have ever eaten bananas.
Mine isn't at all.
Well,
Doesn't
no,
want
I
them.
can't even smell them.
I can't.
I really
no,
can't do it. No.
I just use bananas as an example.
I know. I
No,
can't.
that's
no,
it. You'll have an immediate reaction
Don't.
from both of us.
No,
We're running for the hills.
I personally don't eat bananas, but
no.
what
See,
I'm saying,
what is with the banana?
All of my ancestors used to eat fruit, vegetables, meat, everything that grew here.
Yeah.
Grew on the doorstep. So as I'm bringing in fruit and vegetables that was grown in Spain or Portugal or somewhere, I don't know whether my body actually agrees with all the stuff that I'm bringing in, because all of my ancestors' fruit, vegetables, meat, fish was all local. So my body is the first body in my entire family that has ever put all of these foreign stuff into my body. So can we wonder at it that we are, as a race, our bodies are complaining because who knows?
Well, the other thing is you have to take into consideration, like if you travel to a tropical place where bananas are where they actually come from, and you get fresh ones, not ones that have been trucked 1,500 miles.
Yeah.
Or flown and then trucked across the states.
Yeah.
And frozen and unfrozen, frozen, unfrozen, all the stuff that happens by the time you eat that piece of fruit, it isn't a banana anymore.
No.
It really isn't.
No.
And they freeze them, they pick them too ripe. I mean, before they're ripe. And, if you're going to start picking things, then just make wine. Okay, that's the only way to do it. But really, no, she's really right. But if we think about what are we doing to our health, and then that, when we start, the more we recede from nature, the more we have health problems.
Yeah, it's called like cancer.
It's every single time. All of these things happen. And then that taxes the economy. That taxes, it just really is a huge burden on an area. And then we have to make pills, and those pills end up medicine. Do you know how much medicine goes into our water system and really taints the water system? Like it's one of the biggest problems we have in this country is contamination from medical supplies going in the water. It's like, oh, we don't need these pills, just flush it down the toilet. Well, the fish in the ocean didn't want your, painkiller. The shark's going to get it now. So, I'm just saying it is a ripple effect. And that's what I love when you say, what is, the power of one person doing something. It's about the person doing and then the person doing who's purchasing, or, going to a farmer's market, growing things. People are growing things that, like you're saying, bananas. Well, now we're doing them in greenhouses and things like that. But if you want to have the banana and you're in England and it's winter and someone grew it in their greenhouse, that's still healthier than having it shipped in from another country, So, and we can do that. Some of it's really great. I mean, we got dragon fruit the other day, and I'm sorry, it was really delicious, but it was actually, you can grow it here. So people want things, you pay a higher price, but now there are smaller companies that will do stuff like that, but it's the really big ones that by the time that produce comes in, and it's still old. Even organic produce is being grown as big monocrops over here. So that's not good for the soil. The small farmer that does a diverse set of crops, or like you could have a cherry, let's go back to the cherry trees next to a farm that has apples, everyone's happy. you know?
Yeah, quite. I mean, if we grow the fresh fruit and vegetables that are in season and that are grown locally, we are going to have the best quality of food. And also we're going to do our bodies much more good, and we're going to do the planet much more good, because it's just common sense. If I buy carrots from my local market store that's covered in soil, I know that they've just been pulled up from the. If I buy carrots from the supermarket that have all been washed and they're in a plastic bag, I've got no idea where they came from, what they grew in, or what they are. So what is the flavor is going to be so much better as well because it's fresh.
Yeah.
You know,
but it's like canned peas that my mom used to try to make us eat are the most disgusting things on the planet. They should take them all away, take them off the shelves, and I don't ever knew canned
now,
peas.
when we lived in England, I remember having peas and snapping peas.
No, but
you know,
they weren't canned.
Beans,
they weren't canned.
I remember in England as a kid sitting and snapping,
Mushy peas.
Cleaning beans, harvesting them, having to sit on the front porch, actually, you know, with my aunt doing that, peeling potatoes together. And it was just this, and it was a nice conversational thing. It was about getting to know your food. I mean, we had sweet peas in the garden. I remember that. We had crab apples, rhubarb. I remember rhubarb being a big deal. I don't.
Yes.
We don't hear rhubarb that much in this country.
It's rhubarb pie, and that's
rare. Rhubarb is
here,
but it is here in this country, and it does grow, but it's not like and as popular as an apple. You know.
Yeah.
No. In England, rhubarb is really popular, especially as a crumble. You know, if you put, put a crumble on the top and have custard with it, that's really popular.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's rhubarb that's grown locally. You know, it's everything. Everything is all about getting stuff off the market and eating it when it's fresh.
Exactly. You know? Without the chemicals to make it last. I mean, there's no way that a cabbage can come from England to New York, from New York all the way to California and be called fresh.
No.
Yeah. No, even if you're flying it in. Even if you're flying it in. Well, here's the thing too. When you know, we were just in a place called Long Beach, Washington. It's this peninsula, and this whole area, I mean, it has the world's largest oyster. You know, all this area is fishing, and we ended up in these really small, you know, fishing towns, and you're watching them go out, get oysters. You're learning about oysters, about the marshes, and people could go out in certain areas and go oyster
hunting,
go oyster travel, whatever they're doing. They're playing with oysters, but
I don't know.
But like Nancy and I are allergic to seafood and fish, so restaurants in areas like this are dangerous for us if they don't really keep it separate. You know, so. But that when we get into an area like that, like Louisiana too, Louisiana keeps what they're doing in Louisiana. They keep their seafood. When you go to Louisiana, everybody knows jambalaya. You're going to have, you know, seafood, meat pies in Natchitoches. You're going to have beignets in New Orleans. You're going to have these specific things. So they've kept it that way. And they even say, like, if there's roadkill, someone's going to get out of the car and pick it up and cook it up. It could be gator, it could be skunk, it could be whatever. They're cooking it. Possum. Well, they're not wasting. But the same thing as this place in Long Beach, you know that this is a beach town. We have seafood and we're famous and proud of it. Yes. And I think that's something that it is working with nature. It is the hunter-gatherer, you know, not that I'm going to go kill anything because I'm not good at that. But, you know, apparently I kill lettuce. But it is something about understanding your food, understanding that environmental footprint, the farmer, that human connection. And I think the more, it's great to have all this technology, but if we can really get more in connection with each other in the business community and in the tourism community, that will actually help. Because if you have a relationship, you know, we started talking, it's about these relationships.
Well, look at it, going to a farmer's market, it's fun. It's colorful. There's smells of the different foods. People are all happy. There's usually some kind of music, and people are talking and trading, and they're having fun. Now you go in the supermarket, that's almost like going to doctors. It's like going to a doctor's office.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, if you go to a farmer's market and you see something that you don't recognize or you don't know how to cook it, you can say to the person behind the stall, what on earth is this? And what do I do with it? They will tell you where it grew, how to cook it, how to prepare it, what you try that in a supermarket.
Yeah, right.
I have. Okay, no, because I make I'm into leek soup because I read a long time ago that French women are skinny because they drink leek soup and red wine. It didn't work. Nothing's working. But anyway, I got into leek.
It's still pretty
and making leek soup, leek potato soup. I started adding potatoes and cheese, and of course, I'm not good at making it for skinny people. But it's a good soup, and I'll buy leeks. I swear to God, you go to a supermarket, I cannot tell you how many people, like even a parsnip or a turnip,
they don't know what they are.
They look at it and they go, "What's this?"
Yes.
And I'm like, "You don't know what a leek is. This is a leek." Now we have to check out ourselves. Now we don't even have people checking you out.
Yeah.
You can, they have a few people in markets, but now you get to go scan your own fruits and vegetables. And I wonder about this scanning of your vegetables and your fruit.
Think about it.
No, I don't do that. I refuse to check out in a supermarket myself. I refuse to do it. If they're not going to have somebody to work in a supermarket to check out my goods, I won't buy anything from them.
Wow, you go.
Well, I want to tell you, Glynn, just as a side note here, for our next segment, when we're doing UK English versus American English, you never say, check out your goods. You never say that in this country. I'm just saying. And we'll bring that up on the next show. But I know we're going to be so much.
Yes.
I know we're going to be.
We're checking out your goods.
It's like saying,
we're looking at
goes right to
body up and down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Explain it. I'll tell you something. When I used to work in France, because I worked in France in a hotel in 1978 when I was a lot younger, obviously. And there was a Portuguese lady in the kitchen. And if ever I learned a new word, I would always go to her and I would always say to her, would I say this in front of my grandmother? Because I had to be certain that I weren't using words that I weren't allowed to use.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes, we have stories about that. We have stories.
Yeah.
What doen jou pisang in my vruchtenslei?
Oh, that goes with that's Afrikaans. She was told to say that is a greeting. And so she said it's at a press function when she was traveling around with her artwork for the Cancer Association.
Right.
So they're teaching her Afrikaans, and they said, no, it's fine to say. So she stood up and said it. Everybody started laughing.
Right.
And it turned laughing, I should say, right?
Yeah.
And you know what she said? What is your banana doing in my fruit salad? That was the greeting. We're back to bananas again. So anyway, and that goes with goods. That's the other. So that goes with exactly what you said. Okay. I can't wait for next month's segment on this, because it's going to be naughty, I know. But I think what really the big takeaway from your article in this conversation is we need to have a better relationship with Mother Nature, but that means we need to do it. To get back to basics, we need to have better relationships together as a community between the businesses, the locals, and the visitors.
Exactly. If we can have a better relationship with the people who are actually producing the goods and the services, then not only are we going to know what goods and services people are producing, so, we're going to know the people who are growing the crops and who are butchering the meat and who are making our kitchen units. We've always got someone to go to ask for help. Whereas today we've got no one to ask for help.
And also, you can take a cloth bag and put the goods in a cloth bag and not look like a shoplifter. and you don't have to have all this plastic bag for every single thing you buy.
No.
Then put into another plastic bag. Then put into a paper bag. All that wastage.
And by the way, cheese doesn't like plastic bags either. Leave
the cheese out of the plastic.
But going back to the relationships, building a strong local community network. And this goes for travel too. When you go to a place and you can create a relationship, people want to know from each other. Oh, you're from here. Ooh, what's that like? And oh, what is this like? We have cheese in our country like this. You have cheese like that over here. We want to all learn. So that is a relationship, right? So there's all forms. There's, deep friendships. There's business partnerships. There's, just a passerby, we're going to have a nice conversation. This all makes for a better day. When we have good relationships and nice conversations, our blood pressure is going to be better. But when we look at what governments are doing, and none of us really want to go down that conversation because then our blood pressure goes up. It's really difficult to control the muckety mucks at the top, who are always trying to push things down on the smaller people. But the reality is, if we do this all at a local level, we can make a difference no matter what the governments are doing at the big top. We can make a difference within our community. If you want to have a better footprint for the environment, do it by building relationships and start doing it together.
Yeah.
Talking about that, one of my favorite stories, and you've probably seen it, is the old story of the starfish on the beach. Now, if you don't know that, I will just run through it quickly.
Okay.
Please do.
Walking along a beach, and in the distance, he could see someone else. All the starfish had been washed up. There was hundreds of starfish on the beach. And there was another bloke in the distance picking up a starfish and throwing it back in the sea. And there was millions of these starfish everywhere. So by the time this other bloke got down to where this bloke was throwing starfish into the sea, he said, "What are you doing?" So he picked up another starfish and he threw it into the sea. He said, "What on earth are you doing?" He said, "You're not making a heap of the difference because there's millions of them." So he picked another one up, threw it into the sea, and he said, "I made a difference to that one." And that is what it's all about. We don't have to make a difference to absolutely every starfish on the beach. If we can actually help one starfish to survive, we'll have done our bit. Exactly. And that is all that matters.
Absolutely. Well said. Perfect closing, Glynn. We did good. We went off track, but that's because we have a relationship. We did good. Everyone, again, keep up with Glynn at norfolk-tours.co.uk. Also keep up, if you're going to Norfolk, go to Buy Local Norfolk, because then you can, go to the local store, support them. And if you're in Norfolk, go join up. You've got artists, bed and breakfast, every kind of business in there. But if you're going to England, you contact Glynn because he does know the locals, and obviously is, definitely carrying the torch for local business. And it's just great to see travel biz back, and England is welcoming people from all over the world again, Glynn. So it's a good time.
Yep. We are open for business.
Awesome.
Yay. Let's party, dude. Okay. There's another thing. So you don't say dude, you say bloke.
No, you don't say bloke.
Or mate.
Mate, that's right. Now, you got to be careful with that too, depending on where you go. And bum bags. Everybody, in the next episode, tune in to hear about bum bags and fanny packs.
You said it.
Nancy and I were talking about this, Glynn. We were going, because we were in the area of very English, and we said, we need to start this list. And when we got the giggles so bad, we don't actually know how we're going to pull this off with you, because we're probably going to just be in tears giggling through the entire thing. I know it's going to be bad, so we promise to behave. But anyway, everyone, Glynn is on every fourth Saturday, so stay tuned for the next one where we get silly about English language. And of course, keep up with this article. Check it out on blendradioandtv.com, all about what one person can do to make a difference. Thank you so much, Glynn.
Thank you. See you later.
Yeah, take care.
Ba-da-ba-da